Hello, and how are you? Welcome to Leading the Charge, the podcast. Everybody, I'm Dom Tibbetts alongside my co-host, everybody's favorite unofficial family member, Brother Bill. Buffalo Bills winning 39-34, improving to 9-4 overall with their win over the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. It was an instant classic. It was one of the best games I have ever seen in my life, one of the best I've ever covered. And we should have known, Bill, right? Like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, the writing was in the making before this game even started. And if you're sitting there wondering to yourself, Dom, were you yelling as a media member in this game? No, my voice has been gone for the last week. But if I was among the probably 60, 70,000 fans that were there, Bill, I imagine my voice would probably have sounded like this anyways. Listen, the Bills, they have their flaws, but they have Josh Allen, and that defense has ways to alleviate all those concerns that we probably thought we'd be talking about more to get the job done. So an impressive win. What are your just immediate takeaways from that one?
It was exciting. It was like one of those games where like you knew Bengals defense isn't great. We know that coming in. You knew you had to score with them. Like you said, it was a little like up and down at first, like that first possession when you settle for a field goal. I'm like, that could be the thing that changes everything.
Yeah.
But they played well. Josh took over defense, huge back-to-back takeaways that really swayed everything. And yeah, it was fun. It was exciting. It was another good game. We're happy again.
The Victory Monday vibes always better too. You know, it's funny now. I think about every time the Bills win, my immediate thought, like kind of as things settle after, is, man, Thurman Thomas and Grape Davis.
I know.
We're gonna get the next chapter of the saga today, and I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the Brain Rot video. I will say it's just, it's kind of like we said last week, Bill, with their win over the Steelers, a tale of two halves. The defense, they couldn't stop a nosebleed in the first half of this game. And T. Higgins was getting everything and anything he asked for. I get Trey White doesn't want to get beat deep, but brother, is getting beat for a 10-yard slant and in routes 4 times in a row almost as worse as just getting beat on a long shot. They're moving the ball down the field regardless. I was concerned. I thought T. Higgins was going to have, and he did. He had a really good game, but I thought we were going to get like 10 receptions, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. T was carving them up. Joe Burrow was precision accurate in terms of what he was able to do in the pass game. I thought the Bills did a good job against the run, but like Chase Brown and Samaje Perine, they're like 2 guys you should be able to bottle up. It's like Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren. I feel like you should be able to bottle them up too. But yeah, just a tough first half. And then, like you said, the offense comes down. They get a field goal out of that. You wish there was, a touchdown there. If Ty Johnson doesn't slip and fall, scores a touchdown. They come back in the second quarter with another touchdown, or their first touchdown, then the 2-point conversion. But they go into halftime down 21-11. And honestly, Bill, my thought at halftime, I'm curious what your thought was, is I thought they were in a really tough spot because I did not know if the defense had it in them to have an answer for Joe Burrow, Higgins, Jamar Chase, who is going to get his. I mean, and the tight ends too. Mike Gesicki was tearing them up.
A tale as old as time, honestly, too.
Yeah.
Gesicki is a Bill killer. He is always just having – I've seen him gritty far too many times, and I should have to see Mike Gesicki gritty against us.
I have a terrible Mike Gesicki beat that we'll get to later in the show about about Dom putting a nice little anytime touchdown parlay and almost hitting on it. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I really didn't know if the Bills would have an answer for this Bengals team. Their offense is good. And that's what I think is really frustrating if you're a Bengals fan, Bill, is that I get Joe Burrow was out for most of the year, but when he's in and this team is gelling in the way they did it, especially in the first half, the Bengals are really, really good. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'd be really frustrated. 1, at Joe's injury history, but 2, just like their inability to seemingly take advantage of the opportunities they had. Like the AFC North was very winnable this year. You felt like if you could keep your head above water a little bit, but they had some early season struggles too. Like Joe lost them a game or 2 in the beginning part of the stretch. And I look at their team and I'm like, damn, that'd be really nice if the Bills had 2 weapons like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, because the Bills receiving core was led by Dawson Knox, who had a great game, probably the best game I've ever seen him play in years for the Bills. Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, then Gabe Davis. I forgot who did. Christian Benford has more touchdowns in the last 2 weeks than Bills wide receivers do. So let that sink in for you.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's definitely nice to like kind of put the nail. I won't say it totally. Yeah, it feels like it though. Like that division is weird. So I think Steelers are in first place with like 7 wins, maybe.
Yeah. So Steelers retook the lead, and then now it'll be Baltimore still behind them, 6-7, and then Cincinnati's 4-9.
So I guess feels like the nails in the coffin for the Bengals, but maybe not totally with the way that division looks, but definitely a team I don't want to face in the playoffs. Like I will take the Steelers over the Bengals in the playoffs 100 times out of 100. So huge win for us there. Huge win for the Steelers to beat the Ravens also, because I would also rather see the Steelers in Baltimore. But you're right, it does suck for Bengals fans because you have, great quarterback, 2 great receivers, and just can't really put much else together. And I know like their team is kind of weird because that family who owns the Bengals like doesn't have other business like ventures. So like we have like obviously the Pagulas' main source of income isn't from the Bills, it's from like oil and stuff.
Yeah.
And that family like is just like owns the Bengals, and that's it. And that's why like it's really hard for them to pay anyone, I guess. Like it was kind of crazy that they even got like T. Higgins, Jamar, and Burrow under contract. So I don't see how things really get maybe better than them unless they just draft perfectly. So that really does suck for that fan base because that's a sick trio. Also weird was T. Higgins came in with like mild head problems and banged his head off the ground about 5 times.
So much.
And
so many times.
Like all these like interviews where he's talking about like I'm I got to grit through it for my team, and like the fan base is like cheering him on for it. And I'm kind of like, dude, this isn't like a leg, you know what I mean? Like a leg, yeah, like
a head injury. CTE is not a myth.
Yeah, like it's honorable for you to do that out of like a foot or like fighting through like a Greg Jennings broken leg or something, but like concussions are like it'll be interesting to see if they get any like in trouble at all, because did not look good. But he played amazing still. Made a touchdown grab.
He carved him up
after like his 3rd concussion of the day.
Yeah.
I tweeted it was like was it Billy Bob from Varsity Blues, like the big who's got, I think and then they had Not Another Teen Movie where they like had the same actor reprise that role, and they have like the concussion tracker on like the scoreboard. Like that's what I felt I was watching. I was like, dude, this guy's got to get out.
Yeah, just watching T. Higgins just destroy his mental capability. And he was it was just really tough to watch, because you and I have talked kind of even recently too. Like Trey White has shown some improvement. He's gotten a lot better, and you feel like he's playing really well comparative to like where he is in his career coming off 2 major injuries. That was a tough game. And not that Max Harrison was miles above better, but it was an added relief to have Max Harrison be in there. I mean, he made a couple plays on the ball. Yeah. He's faster, a little bit more athletic. That was a tough game for Trey White. He's going to want to throw all that tape away, which is tough to see.
It felt like with Max, you at least have like a fighting chance that like he's on his hip, like maybe he doesn't get his head around, but like he's on him or around him, where like Trey is like is so aware that his speed isn't there that he's, like you said, like just giving like 8-yard, like it would be like a 3rd and 6 and he's giving him like a 8-yard cushion. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like they only need 6 yards. Like, yeah, that's perfect for them.
I was flabbergasted. I was like, Trey, like he's not trying to beat you deep.
No, at least know where the chain, like, you have to at least know where the chain is and like give a cushion, I guess, to that point. But yeah, some of that was mind blowing. I'm like, well, dude, what are we doing?
And look, like the Bills defensive scheme, they don't ask their corners to do a lot. It's a very corner friendly system, but that's not even being corner friendly. That's just being giving. That's just like Trey White was like, hey, listen, it's the season of giving. It's Christmas. I'll give T. Higgins a career game because he's going to have 7 concussions. And it's like, no, you don't why are we doing this? Get on them, dude. Eliminate the cushion. I'd rather see them try to take a shot on the safeties with Poyer and Bishop and help than it is to give up 8-yard dings every single time down the field. We're talking about a lot of bad that we saw in the first half. And like I said, those things, Bill, like that's where I was like, I don't know what this Bills team will do out of the second half because they don't have an answer for it. And they really almost did it until the play of the game, Christian Benford, pick 6 on a play where he said after the game, it was so funny. He's like, honestly, I wasn't even supposed to do that. He's like, you're supposed to stay on your feet. But instead he jumps, leaves it, which he said, God just lifted me up. And I said, all right, Benford put that call into God.
Yeah.
I lifted him up. Pick 6 on Joe Burrow. Obviously the turning point of that game, a massive momentum swing. Where do you feel? Well, I got you. Two questions for you, but I'll start with the first one, Bill. Your reaction of just like, because I can tell you from being on the field, Highmark was rocking. That was one of the loudest in terms of not having full capacity in that stadium. That was one of the loudest roars I've heard that stadium pull in my entire time covering this team. It was an electric atmosphere. So you're watching it at home. What are your initial thoughts?
You're kind of like scared because they're driving, right? I think we're at like maybe the 40-ish,
right about
like right over
midfield.
Yeah. So like you're kind of like, all right, we just gotta, in these conditions, McPherson probably can't kick from here. Like I'm kind of thinking like that. Like you gotta kind of hold them around here, hopefully, because this is like comeback area. You can't really afford to let up any more points, or at least a touchdown. Definitely not a touchdown. And then that just happened. Like it was just like, holy crap. Like I remember just standing up and being like screaming as Benford, like just yelling. Me and all my friends were dapping up, like we're jumping up and down. And he looked, I don't like doing this all the time, but like Burrow looked like shocked. Like it looked like he was kind of out of it after that initial play. Like, on this, like I think I tweeted the Macaulay Culkin Home Alone meme because like he looked like he did was jumping up and down, like hugging. And then of course, 10 seconds later, Big Phil gets in the action, gets those arms up that we love to see, put his arms to great use and smack the ball in the air. Awesome. Great back-to-back plays.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into Big Phil in a second here because the point on Benford is like, and I was actually talking about this with my colleague, is that, listen, the Bills have flaws. They have Josh Allen, but those are the moments where you are reminded that last year, this defense was very good at finding the ways to make splash plays and take the ball away at very important times. And that was another moment where the defense needed to get a little bit, I would say, needed to spark something, needed to get back into their mojo a little bit. And Benford did that for them, which was just a huge momentum swing play, 2 in a row for him. My question, the second one I want to get to, Bill, is Christian Benford right now, is he better than 2019 Trey White?
I think yes, honestly. And it's really hard to say because Trey was awesome. But I think Benford has a more – I think Benford, even like Trey in his prime wasn't like he was on you, but he wasn't like as capable, I feel like, as like straight up man-to-man as Benford is. Like I feel like you could literally – like Benford – shadowed Jamar for like a lot of that game. And I don't really remember Trey, like even at his prime, we kind of stayed in our defense and he was so good at like what Sean wanted out of that defense, not to take anything away from him. Like he was amazing. Right. But I do feel like Benford gives that ability to like change kind of what you're doing because they have a guy and you can like kind of like just set Benford on him and forget about it. And he's been amazing lately. Like last week was his first touchdown and he does it again this week. So sick.
Yeah, and it goes back to our conversation too we had last week about where you would rank the guys that got the contracts this offseason. I mean, James Cook, we think, is just proven his worth tenfold at this point, even despite his fumble yesterday, which was costly, which didn't come back to bite him. But James Cook still had a really good game, 18 carries, 80 yards, probably should have had a touchdown in there instead of the fumble. But Christian Benford continuing to prove why he's worth that contract. That's a play that will define moments in his career, like what we saw Trey do in that early stretch of his time here in Buffalo. The only thing that why I don't agree, and I asked that question because a bunch of us in the media room were pondering this yesterday, Bill, is the only reason I don't think Benford is better now than Trey White was back in 2019 or whatever it was, is because I don't think Benford still gets the respect as like a top 10 cornerback that Trey White was getting then. Trey White was arguably one of, if not the best corner. And I mean, he was a top 2 corner when he was at his peak. Benford isn't just there yet because there's a lot of talented guys in the league that are really good at cornerback, but he's certainly on his way. And I would absolutely, like, that was another debate too, is we were like, is Christian Benford a top 10 cornerback? He absolutely is. Not even close. He's close to top 5. Christian Benford is a playmaker and he's a dog. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. The Bills defense does not ask the corners to do a lot, but as the boundary guy and the guy who has to go up against the team's best receivers, it's unbelievable what Christian Benford has done. Bill, give me a second. I want to look up the stat from Elena Getzenberg. She tweeted, it was per NFL Next Gen Stats. And I want to see if I can pull this up real quick. This is great podcasting as I'm trying to fill time figuring this out here. It was basically what I'm looking at is, All right. So per Next Gen Stats, Christian Benford had 16 total matchups against Jamar Chase, 2 targets, 0 receptions, 1 pick 6 against Jamar Chase. That's pretty damn good. And if you don't believe Christian Benford's a top 10 cornerback in this point, I look at that stat. He locked down Jamar Chase. What more is there left to say? So huge play from Christian Benford. And then to your point, though, even if you didn't believe at first Joe Burrow was shook after the Benford play, because he thought the screen pass to Jamar Chase was there. Benford wasn't really supposed to be there, but he was blitzing. He jumped and made a timely play. The next throw for Joe Burrow, tipped by Big Phil right into the soft arms of the flying Hawaiian AJ Epinesa. I looked like me and Dan Fates are on the sidelines shooting the game together, and we both look at each other and we're like, oh, Big Phil, Brother Bill's losing his absolute marbles right now. Big meaty paw up there. Almost like basically what he was doing, Bill, is he had half of the pump up going and just left one hand up to come up and make the play there too. How blown up was your phone after that play?
Dude, whenever Big Phil does anything, I feel like Adam Schefter for like 20 minutes because I just get so many tweets, so many texts, like people just Big Phil, like my whole I could show my text inbox. I probably had like 30 people text me Big Phil in all caps. And I'm like, oh, everyone at my house is turning to me screaming Big Phil. It's so funny. But yeah, dude, he's been practicing that move forever. That's like Big Phil 101. Just get your arms up and sick, dude. The only thing that would have been better is if he actually turned and caught it too, which he was a little close. Maybe AJ Epinesa stole it from his paws, but it was sick, dude. It was so funny. And then we got, I don't know if this is when it happened, but we saw the picture of the reverse Uno Dirty Dancing where Josh Allen actually lifted Big Phil into the air, which is an impressive feat and also an awesome picture.
Yeah, hey, we love to see Josh Allen return the favor, and I think it looks a little bit aesthetically better when Big Phil is doing the lifting. But I will say he is majestic flying in the air, and he embraced the moment, eyes closed, kind of looking into the heavens. Like he also was phoning the same God that Christian Benford was calling at the same time too. It's funny that after the game,
I commented on the picture and
go ahead. You're good.
I commented on the picture and said I call next. So hopefully, did you get me?
Yes, I got you. You're good.
So hopefully I'm next in line. Hopefully I'm next in line.
get lifted up here too. I love that. Yeah, kind of like my voice here too. Bill and I were having little technical difficulties in the moment, but easier just to say it, Bill, because we were texting each other when we were both talking. Like, yeah, I think I can hear you still. You're fine. I can hear you. So, we're trying to be so professional, and I'm like, dude, I sound like dog shit. Like, who cares? It's just you sound fine on my end. You look good. We're rolling. But yeah, I mean, Sean McDermott getting asked about it too afterwards, and like him referencing like, oh yeah, we brought him here to do this and just pump up the crowd. The jacket was on and warm up yesterday though too. I think a lot of Bills fans who aren't as fond of Big Phil as you and I are, Bill, would say like, oh, Jordan Phillips, kind of a waste of space, doesn't really make any impact plays. He isn't timely. He's just old. But my argument though is just like, I feel like guys like him and, whether it was like Shaq, when Shaq was with this team, 2 years ago, prior to getting back with him now, you can say what you want when they make their splash plays and when they do it, like they find a way to make an impact with the Bills. And I don't know if Jordan Phillips does this on another team. It just always feels like there's a little extra magic that the Bills get out of guys like that. And I don't know if that's how you feel, but like I would have a hard time believing Jordan Phillips does that kind of impact and makes these kind of plays for any other organization.
No. And I think even as much as I would agree with you, like when you asked me how I feel, I think he agrees. Like I've seen him talk about it and him say like, there's something different here. There's something like, I've made money, I've had success, and like there's a different element that gets him going. And that's what Buffalo gives him, is just like that sense of like family and like fun. Like he enjoys being here. I think I remember it was an article or an interview where he was talking about in Miami how he would do the same thing. Like he'd be pumping up the crowd, and he got brought into like the office by the D coordinator that like Monday, and the dude like chewed him out for like, we don't do that here, like all this stuff. And he's like, what do you mean, dude? This is part of my game. Like this is, I'm getting into it. I'm getting the crowd.
How about Peacock Cap? You got him.
He talked about how he talked about how his first game in Buffalo, he did it, and like the staff came up to him and was like, "Oh, like this is awesome. Like we love this." So it's cool. Like they let him be himself, and we obviously love it. Like I talk about the Bengals home opener all the time because that was like one of the first games. I liked him when he got here already because he had some splash plays, but that was that season where he like broke out and had like 10 sacks. And I just remember like the moment where we were losing the game after we were up big. Josh just threw a pick, and he single-handedly forced everyone back on their feet as everyone was like deflating because he was just going nuts the whole time. And we ended up coming back and winning. And I just think of that. He gives me the same feeling I felt when I was like 7 watching Takeo Spikes come out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And like going absolute bananas, and to still be able to do that, as a 7-year-old, it's easy to get excited, but as like a 31-year-old, it's not as easy to get that like childlike excitement that I used to get. And Big Phil does it. Like it's just so sick to see how much he cares and goes at it and kind of forces you to feel it and gets you to start doing it too and cheering. And so it's awesome. It's awesome having him. Like he brings an element that we need always, even if it's like just pumping up the crowd and pumping up the guys around him and getting them fired up.
And the best part is that I have, my co-host in this podcast is the literal Big Phil ambassador outside of the walls in Orchard Park. So it's perfect. It's a beautiful thing. And you're right. It gets, and it's what McDermott said. It just kind of sparks an energy into the sideline, to the team, to the fan base. And I would also argue too that Josh Allen being a sick freak also does that as well. The touchdown, 40+ yard touchdown run was just a blitz zero, broken coverage, Josh making something out of nothing and just finding a seam and taking off. And then he has the 3rd and 15 run to seal the game, slides down. It's like I said, the Bills have flaws, but they have Josh Allen, and their defense just finds a way to do just enough to turn the tide of a game when they need to. That could be a dangerous little scenario when you start talking about the playoffs and stuff like that. But I also say too, like we were talking about it, Bill, is that, your thoughts on just Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, like what a nice influx to get him back into this lineup. But also when the Bills receivers aren't getting it done, it's nice that you have 3 tight ends that all in some way, shape, or form made an impact in Sunday's game.
Yeah, I mean, Dawson Knox, probably the most I've seen him involved in years, probably like the year before he got the extension, really.
Yep.
So that was awesome. And then you still get like, touchdown out of Hawes out of nowhere. Kincaid looked good again. Like there were so many times where I just thought Knox was Kincaid because like I'm so used to Knox not being that involved that like I see like similar sized white guy catch a ball and I'm like Kincaid. And then it's just ends up being Knox. But yeah, that was awesome, dude. It was great to see them involved. Hopefully that, maybe helps the receivers if like becomes a trend and they have to worry about tight ends more. Hopefully your receivers can do some more stuff. But like Shakir obviously didn't do a lot, but that one touchdown grab was sick. Like that was a insane play by both of them. One, Josh to find him and squeeze it in there, and then Shakir to make that grab when he was like facing the complete opposite way and was able to turn. Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, it was a money throw. And then I think the kind of the last 2 things from this game I wanted to bring up, Bill, too, is it's more just like nitpicky things of like, one is the receivers. I think you still need to like find a way to get a little bit more out of them. I know Joe Brady's defense today is going to be like, well, the game plan didn't call for it. Like we were able to do a lot of things without them. And it's like, well, like it would have been nice to have like when you watch the other team with 2 guys who are just carving you up and you're like, well, imagine if we just had somebody like that or a guy who had the ability to do that. It would be fantastic. Bless you. My second kind of like nitpicky gripe here is that where the pass rush is bad. Like I know Joe Burrow gets the ball out very fast, but the pass rush is just non-existent. Ed Oliver hasn't played in weeks. He has 3 sacks, Bill. He's still second on the team in sacks. They got a problem and it's got to get fixed. Like you've got to get Greg Rousseau to find a way to get to the quarterback. Like Deion Walker is getting double teamed, I'm sure, but he's got to find a way to get into the quarterback more. You got to get TJ Sanders in there as well too. Like that is a one area of concern, like long-term, where I'm like, the Bills will not win a Super Bowl if they don't figure out this pass rush. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, the blueprint was there last year from Philly when you saw how they got after Mahomes and on just a 4-man rush most of the time and completely frazzled him. And it feels like that's usually the key thing to the playoff game wins and stuff is like that penetration and having an extra man that can, be in coverage or whatever it might be because your front 4 can really get that pressure. And you're right. Like it just is not there. I don't know how you fix it this late in the season. Like
I don't know if you can.
It hasn't been there all year. I mean, your hope is that Oliver maybe shows up like Bobby Boucher
in the Super Bowl when he
Bowl
inevitably comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, but like again, he's coming off a serious injury, and it takes like we saw that with Daquan Jones, kind of that. What was that 2 years ago when he forced his way back from the pec injury or whatever that was, and he was there, but he wasn't what he was.
But he wasn't that Daquan Jones
that season earlier, and he hasn't really been the same since either, honestly. But yeah, it's a little frustrating, especially with all the money and draft picks we put into that position this year, and to see it just kind of not show, it's frustrating.
Well, the great thing is that we can be nitpicky because the Bills won and they're 9-4. So we're going to move on to, what will be a massive game in Foxborough next Sunday, 1:00 against the New England Patriots. Possibly. I mean, the Bills obviously don't win. They don't win the division. They win. There's still hopes that the Patriots could slip up and the division falls into their laps. You don't know, but a huge game coming up. You got a big win against the Bengals. You're able to finally also not do this win-loss pattern. You're able to stack wins together, which the Bills need to do, and they do very well in December. Also in December, Brother Bill just keeps dropping heat. If you didn't watch his video yesterday, please go do that as soon as you're done listening and watching the podcast, because we got the most culturally significant icon in our generation to come back and do a video, Mr. Harambe. It was great to see him in spirit, floating in the sky with Abe Lincoln and Eric Wood. Just another absolute classic. Bill, take us through another cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah, so Cincinnati's always tough, man, because it's really the Skyline Chili is really all I know culturally about them. Then, of course, our fallen soldier Harambe, who is killed at their zoo many years ago now, but we will never forget. And
never forget.
I actually didn't have Harambe in the plot until Saturday. I had a whole different idea, and two of my friends had things come up that they couldn't help me acting wise, and I had to like scramble to come up with stuff. And luckily I do have a Harambe costume in my house from my previous videos, so that was the first thing I went to. I was like, all right, I guess Harambe is coming back, and I had to just piece together maybe something. But the first part of the video was the whole gross chili. Dude, I hate when we play Cincinnati because Skyline Chili, I've never had it from Cincinnati. I've only had it from the can. So, you know, I try to reserve my judgment totally because I know it can't be the same. But the smell of Skyline Chili when I open that can haunts me. I'm praying they don't find a way to sneak into the playoffs and we don't match up with them because I really don't want to deal with it again.
That's fair.
But the whole idea was like, yeah, I
will say it is better in person. I had it once when I went down to the game a couple years ago. It is better in person than it is out of the can. Just go ahead. I just wanted to briefly just say that.
I have heard that. I've heard that, and I respect that. I have to imagine it's better. But yeah, so the idea kind of popped to me last week where it's like spaghetti parm is a pretty big Buffalo staple. So I was like, oh, maybe I could like take the macaroni, clean it off, and turn it into spaghetti parm. I actually reached out to chefs in Buffalo hoping that they would get back to me because I know they're the ones who kind of like invented it, but they didn't get back to me in time. So I have a buddy who owns Red Fideli's Brookhouse, which is like this super long, been in business for forever, like since my mom was a kid. And I reached out to them. He's a friend of mine, and they own that restaurant, so they let me in there and let me kind of mess around in their kitchen for a little bit. I did that whole like Italian chef meme. I don't know if you've seen it, where he's like, says like Mamma Mia, and the chef's like the macaroni in the cup. So I kind of did like a play on that, which I thought was funny. I did the bubble wrap on Joe Burrow because I gave him we all know he's got injury issues. But yeah, Harambe ended up being the star of it. I thought that was the funniest part. And it was just a last second throw in where I was like, maybe I'll just go to the zoo, like just to, you know, see Harambe come to me in like a dream sequence. And we did the whole Tarzan idea where like put the hand on the hand. I took the Phil Collins music and put it in there. And it's always funny too, because like I didn't tell Eric Wood I was going to use him at all. So like I just think it's funny thinking of him like watching it, and then like at the end he's just like in the sky again with Abe Lincoln and Harambe.
It was so good. And then like I was telling Bill is that the first time I watched it, I was in the car, and for some reason the Instagram audio wouldn't go into my car, so I couldn't hear it. So I was just kind of like watching the visuals. But I'm like laughing. I'm like, yeah, this is good. I can like see the vision. And then when I was walking into the stadium was when I had the audio on, and I heard the Phil Collins song come on, and I lost it just because like that song, like that's one of my favorite childhood movies, but also like the hand on the hand, and like,
oh yeah,
there's an old SpongeBob episode where there's like a guy in a gorilla costume that's like at the very end of it, and he's like escaping from Bikini Bottom. That's what that guy reminded me of. So that just made me giggle even more. But you know, it's funny though, because like you've done Harambe before, but you found another way to like make it creative, which credit to you, because like you've had to do that with other videos and other skits, but you do always find a way to like make it fun and make it creative and do something new again.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, because like I do like, you know, not just reusing stuff and trying to come up with stuff as much as I possible. And it's hard a lot of times now, man. It's been so many years, and like when I go into these weeks and like all I know is Skyline Chili and all I know is Harambe, I'm like, all right, I've already done this, but like, how can we do it again? Like, I think did the Kevin from The Office chili thing where I tripped the dude with a big pot of Skyline Chili a few years ago. I've done so many random chili stuff, so it's tough, but I feel like I found a good way. And then I also did the punt with like the Joe Burrow like twirl that like everyone always posts when he's like warming up and he like throws it all cool and does the spin. So I tried to make a play on that to make my punt with the chili a little different than previous ones I've done.
Big brain move there too. I tried to get a video of Josh on the field yesterday doing like a cinematic throw. The NFL's got better equipment than I do. It did not look good at all. It just looked like choppy, broken, slow motion stuff. Was not good at all. So great video from Bill. Make sure you go check it out if you haven't. We're getting towards the end of the podcast here. So I told people I'd come back to talk about Mike Gesicki and my all-time bad beat, Bill. This one stunk, dude. I took an anytime touchdown parlay of Mike Gesicki, T. Higgins, Khalil Shakir, and Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns. $5.
Oh, wow.
$5 would have paid out 1,000. So Josh was the last one. And I was like, no, but he's got to get 2. I got greedy. And he's like, he's got to do 2. So Josh runs in that 40-yarder right as John Acosta goes, I think you're dead in the water. And I go, but he runs it in. And I look at him like, we're back. We're alive. But then all of a sudden, all the other like Dan Fade, Dan Brown, they all start like rallying around me like, let's go. Epinesa gets the interception off the big Phil deflection. And I'm like, oh my God, the Bills have time. They're going to go to the goal line. And I'm watching like James Cook slowly run it. And I'm like, don't go. Don't score. Fall at the one. And then it was 4th and 3 or whatever, or 3rd and 3 at the 3-yard line. That pass to Dawson Knox, touchdown. I'm like, Thad Brown comes over, gives me a hug. He's like, I'm so sorry, buddy. And I'm like, whatever. But then all of a sudden they rule it incomplete. And then we have new life, 4th and 3. I'm like, let's fucking go. Let's go. And then Josh throws it to Jackson Hawes. But I'll tell you what, for that 5 minutes that I thought I was going to be a thousandaire, that's one of the best feelings in the world. That is why people have gambling problems. For that feeling right there, the serotonin I was feeling was immeasurable. So it was it was so close.
You also have to wonder. You have to wonder if James Cook doesn't fumble.
Yes.
Does Josh Allen punch it in from the one there?
Mm-hmm. No,
whatever 100%. That was like 1 or 2.
100%. That's what Acosta said to yesterday. I was like, I bet you he would have ran it in and James Cook doesn't fumble there. But I also shouldn't have gotten greedy. I should have just taken Josh for 1 touchdown. But I was like, this guy could score 2. And the way the game was going, I definitely thought he was going to. But yeah, that's why we live to bet again, Bill.
You should have just put Josh. You should have just done Josh 1 rushing, Josh 4 passing touchdowns.
Idiot.
That's what we'll do next time. What we'll do next time.
Yeah, that's why we bet again next week, baby. All right. Bill, any final parting words to get to the people before we send them on their way?
Good win again. That was a good opponent, so I'm happy. Next week is probably the biggest week of the season. Like that is like, if we know if the division is still possibly in our hands, and kind of like the renewed rivalry, dude. The last few years, this game's been kind of not important or as like, I feel like I've gotten a little soft on the Patriots. Like the last few years, it's just like they're just there. And I need to remind myself how much I hate them and how much they ruined my childhood and early adolescence. And this is a good reason to do it again. Like I'm back. I hate them and we need to take it back. So this is a huge week coming up.
Which makes me excited for your video because I'm sure that's going to be just pure hatred. Get ready for Boston. So I'm excited for that one. It's going to be a great game. Sunday, 1:00 in Foxborough. We will come to you then after that game as well. Hopefully my voice sounds better. Thank you all for bearing with me. For anybody who's still listening and watching, This sucks. I don't ask for it. I don't smoke. It just happens. And it sucks that I talk for a living because I'm royally screwed regardless. Whenever I get sick, it just always gets me right in the throat. Pause. And that's just what it is. So thanks for bearing with us. This has been another edition of Leading the Charge, the podcast. For Brother Bill, I'm Dom Tibbetts. Talk to you guys later.